Hello. Um, I thought I'd make a video today about how the sun can affect your state of health. Many people aren't aware that the sun has such a large effect on us as human beings, and can only be speculated, of course, how it affects other creatures. But if you have neurological disorders or heart conditions, of which I have both, you could be experiencing things in relation to the sun. And a real good site to check out is spaceweather.com. We're having a phenomena called a geomagnetic storm right now. And geomagnetic storms are usually caused from coronal holes. Spaceweather.com has photos of the sun every day, and recently we've been going through this cycle where this giant coronal hole keeps coming around from the sun, and when it does that, it releases all kinds of solar particles, which is called solar wind, and it flies through space, and if it's pointed at us, it buffets the Earth. Well, our magnetic shield then gets this large influx of this, plasma and solar radiation and whatnot. And it can cause problem with communication devices. If it's large enough, you might have, it can knock out satellites, it can knock out, forms of communication here on the Earth, cell phones, whatnot. People who are sensitive to cell phones, who can feel tingling or get zapped from them, will more frequently do so during a geomagnetic storm. If you check the site, now what a normal wind speed, solar wind speed would be, is, between 300 and 400. 400 is getting a little bit high. When there is a coronal hole, and the stream hits the Earth, wind speeds can get up to, I've seen them, well over 700, which is huge. And it can affect you neurologically. It can affect you when you hold electronic appliances. I even had to buy a pair of rubber-coated gloves to hold my rubber-coated cell phone so I could use it or even plug it in. The iPad, I've got a real thick rubber coat on that. But I've noticed, I knew it affected me, my neurological condition, the fibromyalgia, the MS, things like this. It would always get worse the higher the solar wind speeds are. And this will happen too with solar flares, particularly if they're in the higher X class. But M class can affect you, but the X class, when it gets up there, wow, you can be down jack. You will be in some pain. It can affect diabetic neuropathy, any kind of nervous system damage. But what I've noticed recently, a friend of mine, and I don't know if she wants me to mention her name, I will just call her Angie, okay? My friend Angie has had a double mastectomy and lymphectomy, and during the course of the chemo, she ended up with heart issues. She had congestive heart failure, and she also has a lot of nerve damage from the surgeries, and the past couple of times this big Corona hole has come around, she has had issues with pain in her chest and liquid in a liquidy feeling in her lungs and all kinds of things that really freaked her out. And at the same time, I was experiencing tightness in my chest and the liquidy feeling. And just the other day, I had my first incident of the AFib that I've had in a couple of years. And I'm on medication, which, so it was really unusual for me to even experience it, particularly being on the medication. And I didn't realize at that point that it was the sun, but, after the second time of both of us having heart issues, when we began to be buffeted by the solar wind, I thought that was more than coincidence. So I looked it up, and sure as heck, they've done studies. You can Google this, geomagnetic storms in relation to human health. And they've done studies, and it absolutely affects the human heart. People with heart problems are far more likely to have problems in heart attacks during, they say it's as the solar winds begin to go up or begin to go down is when the problems occur. It's during the changes. When they reach their height, not so much, because by then your system gets used to it, but it can actually alter your heartbeat. It can alter the rate of blood flow. People with hypertension, it can raise your blood pressure. It can cause, a buzzy feeling throughout your body. And so once again, my observations were correct, and there is documented scientific proof of this. So I just thought I'd come on here and let people know that if you have heart conditions, which I don't know if this is the right or the wrong thing to do. Maybe I shouldn't tell you because, you might become concerned about it, which will increase your anxiety. But for me, it's more of an indicator, okay, yeah, that corona hole is coming around again, so I'm going to want to stay relaxed. I'm going to not want to put myself in stressful situations. I'm going to make sure I take my medication on time. I may want to monitor my heart rate and everything a bit more, my blood pressure, and, it just, for me, it's more of a preventative measure. So, I can act accordingly and, try to thwart it as much as possible. But just a little video to let you know that, because it comes in handy for me. And also remember, it's related to neurological pain. So if you have neurological disorders, MS, fibromyalgia, anything else related to that, diabetic nerve pain, whatever, you are also more apt to experience problems with pain during these times. So again, I use that as a preventative measure. I think I'm going to have a talk with my heart doctor here soon, because this the corona hole that we've got going on now, really scared me a bit with that AFib episode, especially since I am on medication. But yeah, just be aware. Check spaceweather.com. Know when it's coming around. Prepare yourself, for worse pain or maybe a worsening heart condition. Relax. Get the things you need prepared to do so. and just hunker down for a couple of days and take it easy. So that's my tip for the day. Hopefully I'll be doing more videos soon, maybe even today, who knows. See you later.